in the second edition of the College Football Playoff Rankings brought to you by Capital One. Alabama has now been number one in the College Football Playoff Rankings more than every other team combined. Crimson Tide there for the 20th time. Just behind them, I think we're going to see Notre Dame, and we do. The Irish as complete as any team in the country. Kirk, you've called them, you think, maybe the most complete team in the country.
Yeah, I really think they have an argument. I think Alabama could be 1A and Notre Dame could be 1B. Every aspect of their game is impressive. And as I said last week, they're playing with a chip on their shoulder, out to prove everybody wrong.
At number 3, just behind Notre Dame, the game that we presume we're going to see for the second time in the ACC championship game. Notre Dame, as I told you a couple of minutes ago, is there. Clemson only has to beat Virginia Tech on Saturday, and that would be their final regular season game before the ACC title game against the Fighting Irish if the Tigers can win. Now, number 4, Ohio State had a game canceled because of COVID concerns, and we'll see if the Buckeyes now, Ohio State having played just 4 games, and 4 games is enough right now to hold on to the number 4 spot. So the Buckeyes are on their way to play Michigan State without Ryan Day on Saturday, are still at number 4. Let's see who's number 5. There's going to be Florida and Texas A&M, but the order is the question. A&M beat Florida in a regular season game head-to-head, so at the moment, A&M still having the edge with that head-to-head. But that, look, Florida can still jump into this. Florida, if it makes it all the way to the SEC championship game, they're going to get a shot at Alabama, and that, one would presume, would trump the head-to-head loss that Florida has against Texas A&M. So, Kirk, what's your reaction to the top 6? And we have the top 7 just as it was a week ago.
Well, I look at this, and I think you make a great point for people in the SEC that are either excited or concerned about Florida and A&M. That will take care of itself. So that's almost a moot point. I think a lot of people wanted to see where Ohio State would be. The concern on Friday and Saturday was Ohio State. Are they going to have to shut down their operation? Are they going to potentially miss the Michigan State game? Maybe miss of course, the Illinois game. Are they going to have enough to be able to play against Ohio or against Michigan? And are they going to miss the Big Ten championship? And how is the committee going to evaluate them? The fact that they've played 4 games and they're still sitting there in the top 4, now it comes down to they were going to play Michigan State Saturday. I still think Michigan waves the white flag, potentially avoids playing Ohio State next week, and then, David, they'll potentially get a game on the 19th. They could be sitting there with 6 games. And Michigan, is that fair, David? Michigan could opt out basically of that game and keep Ohio State out of 6 games to qualify for the Big Ten championship. That doesn't make sense to me, but that potentially could happen next week.
If you can't beat them, then try to keep them out of the playoff another way. I mean, if you're Michigan, you've been getting beat like a drum. I guess some other approach might work. But I tell you what, I still look at this and I say there's only one team outside of the top 4 that controls its own destiny, and it's not the 5th team in the country. It's Florida. I mean, Florida has an opportunity to play Alabama in the SEC championship game and make their way into the college football playoff. So, I mean, if you're a Florida fan, you got to be excited. And don't worry about the A&M head-to-head and where you're at right now, because you've got a big opportunity ahead of you to get in the college football playoff. So that's a pretty awesome spot for Florida to be in.
For Ohio State, watching these rankings, I think they got some good news. I think Indiana right now, number 12. The committee respects them still, even though with Michael Penix going down at quarterback. Wisconsin at 16. And Iowa now ranked, because all 3 of those teams directly impact Ohio State's chances, I think, of reaching the playoff if, in fact, they don't qualify to play in the Big Ten championship game. Indiana, we know, is their best win so far. Ohio State could play Wisconsin in this quote-unquote Big Ten championship weekend if, in fact, they don't qualify for the Big Ten championship game. And by the way, Wisconsin could be ranked higher than Northwestern in that game. So in a crazy way, Joey, Ohio State's strength of record could actually be better if they don't play in the Big Ten championship game. Now, Wisconsin still has 2 ranked teams left. We'll see what happens with Indiana with the injury at quarterback. But, you know, with that better strength of record, with that Trump potentially not playing in the conference championship in the committee's eyes, it could be a wild situation unfolding.
Yeah, and I think if you're Ohio State, you're sort of still in a nervous situation. I think we're assuming that, let's just say they don't get the rest of their games in. Let's say they don't go to the Big Ten championship game. The fact that the committee in their first rankings had Ohio State sit at number 4 behind a one-loss Clemson team would make me a little nervous, especially when I look right behind me and I start to think about how Florida's playing, how Texas A&M is playing. Now, we've said that that will play itself out. Florida will have a chance to play its own self into this thing, but let's just say Florida continues to win. They get to the SEC championship game, and it's a very close game against Alabama, a team that we all believe is the #1 clear-cut team in the country. Let's say they go play them down to the last second. I just think it opens up a lot of doors and a lot of conversations for this committee to say, look, the way these teams are playing right now, we only have a small sample of Ohio State, but the way these other teams are playing, we do believe that they are just flat out better. I just think it opens a lot of doors for discussion if Ohio State doesn't get to play more games.
And just for those who might not realize, if Ohio State doesn't play at least 6 Big Ten games, as it stands right now with the number of games the Big Ten requires to get in the conference championship, they wouldn't be eligible. If some other games are canceled, perhaps that number changes. But look, guys, I'm not going to sit here and let this stand that you guys just implied, and perhaps you didn't want to. I'll give you a chance to clarify it if you want, that Michigan will opt out of the game and dodge the game simply to keep Ohio State out of the championship game. If you're being facetious, that's perfectly fine, but I'm going to give you a chance to clarify there, if that's, because I don't believe that for a second. You might not be able to play because they paused activities, but I don't think they'll dodge it. I mean,
I don't know all the. I know they shut down their operation this week, and I don't know all the numbers as far as their COVID is concerned. I'm just saying we live in such a strange world that I've talked to a lot of coaches around the country that have said they really feel teams are opting out to avoid playing games because they don't want to get humiliated. They don't want to get. They don't want to lose with the team that they have. They don't necessarily have too many COVID positives. They just don't want to have to take the field with the team they have and go get embarrassed. So they're basically waving the white flag and saying we can't play. So there's a lot of that that's being talked about around the country. I'm not suggesting. I have no idea what Michigan's situation is.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.